We are going to start now. Again, my name's Carter Banks. This is by Christopher R. Browning, Remembering Survival in a Nazi Slave Labor Camp. Chapter 17, The Ukrainian Guards. The underground camp economy, with its widespread smuggling between camp and factory, and the movement of at least some prisoners in and out of camp, raises important questions about the Ukrainian work chutes and their functions. The agreement between Jeremiah Wilczek and Kurt Otto Baumgarten had restricted the Ukrainian guards to the outside perimeter of the camp, leaving internal camp affairs in the hands of the Jewish Camp Council and camp police. In addition to guarding the camp perimeter, the Ukrainians performed the major function of marching the prisoners from the camp to the factories and back. Even excluded from the internal affairs of the camp, the Ukrainians were thus in a position to interdict exchange, and strangle the camp underground economy. Yet clearly this did not happen. For most aspects of the Jewish experience in Strachowitz, there is consistency between earlier and later survivor testimonies. However, the portrayal of the Ukrainian guards is one exception to this generalization. The testimony given to the German judicial investigators in the 1960s create a uniform image of the Ukrainians as brutal anti-Semites who beat and killed Jews viciously and gladly. In the words of one survivor, the Ukrainians were plain murderers. A few of the Ukrainian guards were known by name: Hanosovich, Kozak, Mrosowitz, Kosh, Soltau, Domishkai, Granjani, and Priet. Others were known by nicknames: the Shooter, the Businessman, the Hebrew Commandant, because he could call out the marching count in Hebrew going to and from work, and the One-Hand Man, or the Incapacitated One. The most frequently mentioned guard was known as Thunder, or Piorun, because he screamed so loudly at the Jewish prisoners, and in the early testimonies he was accused of the same misdeeds of killing and beating as other guards. Oh wow, they show pictures in here. This is the first time in 17 chapters that we've got pictures. 1. Kurt Otto Baumgarten, a division manager in the Braunschweig Steelworks in Strachowitz, 1941 to 1944, and deputy in charge of factory security, 1943 to 44. Bundesarchiv, former BDC ZK Kurt Otto Baumgarten. And then it's his birthday. Strachowitz furnace, 13 lax fan. Oh shit, that's... Oh wow, they're showing pictures of all the people that we've been reading about. That's nuts. There's some of the workers. Some tar-tack pictures. Okay, I'm going to skip these because this is just a bunch of pictures with explanations that I can't really show. So... But it's pretty crazy. In the testimonies beginning in the late 1980s, a more differentiated and nuanced portrayal of the Ukrainian guards emerges. They are still accused of killing and beating, which undoubtedly took place, but they were also capable of other kinds of behavior. 2 different survivors noted that Ukrainian guards, one characterized as nice boy, spotted them hiding in the barracks sick with typhus during inspection, but they saved their lives by not reporting them. Another time, a Ukrainian guard hid his outside work party of Jewish women from an approaching group of aroused Germans attending the funeral of a fallen comrade because he felt sorry for us. Some of the Ukrainians, the same witness noted, were surprisingly lenient and well-behaved. 2 child survivors, both of whom described themselves as blonde and blue-eyed and not typically Jewish in appearance, said that the Ukrainian guards developed a fondness for them and helped them. Jews who spoke Ukrainian and could converse with the guards in their native language also enjoyed better relations with them. The Ukrainians occasionally played soccer with the Jewish prisoners until the Germans put a stop to it, and Ukrainians listened appreciatively to Jewish singing in the camp or even joined in. A very different picture of Piotrun in particular emerged in the late testimonies. His streams of verbal abuse were now characterized as cover for the fact that he did not beat and kill prisoners. He was, a number of witnesses now said, a Jew successfully passing as a Ukrainian guard, something no one knew until he registered with the Jewish community after the war. According to Abramek Nyman, when he jumped from the truck that was supposed to take him to his death in the Bugaj forest, Piotrun kicked him in the pants and told him to hide in the barracks. David Mongarten, summoned to the camp office for a beating for hiding during inspection, placed a folded blanket inside his pants. When the 35 lashes cut his pants to shreds, exposing the blanket, Piotrun told him he was a real Jew, so smart, and gave him a ration of bread. There were at least rumors of another Ukrainian guard who was also a passing Jew. Prisoners came to know the individual personalities of the Ukrainian guards after a while. This was important as a number of prisoners noted that they could approach particular guards known to be lenient who would allow them to leave camp when their backs were turned. The problem was that those who left never knew which guard would be on duty when they returned, so they often encountered trouble when trying to re-enter. The Jewish policeman Manek Tenzer was viewed by some prisoners as an angel because he would regularly warn in Yiddish which guards were at the gate when prisoners returning from work were about to re-enter the camp. For those who needed to reduce uncertainty when smuggling themselves or goods in and out of the camp, financial arrangements could be made. Some guards would let prisoners go into town or even accompany them for safety in return for a share of whatever the prisoners brought back. Others took bribes to let goods pass through the gate. Indeed, the beatings that some guards inflicted on prisoners whom they caught returning may have been a punishment not so much for infringing the rules by leaving camp as for trying to move goods without paying the guards their expected bribes and not making the appropriate financial arrangements ahead of time. The Ukrainian Workschutz was a key manpower source for the Germans in managing the factory slave labor camps in Strachowitza. Clearly, many of these guards committed numerous killings and beatings on behalf of their German masters, and often did so with great personal pleasure as well. Even when kept outside the camp, they remained the masters of the march to work. Here they could assert themselves without limitation. They forced the Jews to march in perfectly straight lines and to sing, and were free to punish the slightest infraction, even talking on the way to work, with beatings. But the Workschutz was not a homogeneous unit of crazed killers and sadists. The prisoners came to know some of them as lenient and approachable, and others, at least, corruptible. As the focal point in German policy toward the Jewish prisoners switched from killing under Willy Althoff to exploitation under Kurt Otto Baumgarten, it is not surprising that many Ukrainian guards adapted to the new atmosphere for their own benefit as well. Thus, the Ukrainian perimeter guards and around Mazhowka was an extremely porous cordon riddled with laxness and corruption. These were essential conditions for the viability of the underground camp economy.